open up with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings and all sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yachak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for the opportunity to come before you today, Yahweh, and to sup out of your word, Yahweh, to rightly divide your scriptures, Yahweh, to find those hidden things that you show plainly to those that seek your obedience, Yahweh. So, Yahweh, we ask that you, once again, please forgive us of our sins and trespasses, Yahweh. And we ask also for mercy, Yahweh, to our sick and to our elderly. We ask another special petition, Yahweh, towards our mother, Azariah, who's having a bit of a relapse with her surgery complications. We ask that you continue your mercy, Yahweh, as we believe you will, according to your will, Yahweh, and put your hedge of protection about our family, Yahweh, and to give strength and consistency, Yahweh, unto Brother Mikael and his wife to deal with these issues as they try to make a transition in their life, Yah. Yah, these things we humbly come before you. We make no demands, Yahweh, but we make supplications to let you know the desires of our heart, Yahweh. But we also do not desire to do anything that goes against your will, so we ask that you make it plainly for us so that we can see and we can show you our obedience, Yah. Yah, these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen. All right, shalom. My name is Yedan Yashara. My brother Yonatan Yashara. Shalom. And the title of today's Bible study is The Father's Eyes. The Father's Eyes. And sometimes, you know, we see things going on in the world, and we feel like, you know, the Most High is not seeing what's going on, or you know, people are getting away with things, and we can even get to the point sometimes where we'll even envy the wicked, because it appears as if they're, you know, prospering by doing the things that we know is not glorious unto the Father. But we have to understand that the eyes of the Father are forever on his people. And and if his eyes are on his people, then it's important for us to understand where he says his eyes are, and, you know, what things cause him to lay his eyes on us, and things that will cause him to turn away from us. We want, when you're a child, you want to be in the vicinity of your parent. You want to be somewhere where they can see you. A parent will say, hey, you can go play, you can do this, but stay where I can see you. That way you can make sure, they can make sure that you're in their hedge of protection. And they can guide you, they can help you, they could, be glorified in you, to see the things that you're doing and be proud of you and things of that nature. So the word tells us specifically who he keeps his eyes on and where he keeps his eyes on. So we're going to first open up in Deuteronomy chapter 11. Devarim chapter 11. And if we accept the fact that the Most High's eyes are on us, and everything we say and do is being recorded, we act differently. It's just like when we walk into a store or something and we see that camera looking dead at us, we automatically, think an extra layer to be careful what we do and what we say, or how we behave, because we know it's being recorded. Same thing when we go in court, or we're at the traffic lights and we see those cameras up there. We're not just running those lights, we chilling. So if we understood that concept and adopted that in our normal lives, in our spiritual lives, it would eliminate a lot of the things that we did, down to at least the things that, hey, we tried the hardest to beat this, but we fell. And at least at that point, we can elicit the grace of the Most High, because we're doing the best that we can do.
Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 11 and verse 1.
And we're going to read this through verse 12.
Therefore, you shall love Yahweh your Elohim, and keep his charge and his statutes and his judgments and his commandments always. And know you this day, for I speak not with your children which have not known, and which have not seen the chastisement of Yahweh your Elohim, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his stretched out arm, and his miracles and his acts which he did in the midst of Mitzrayim, unto Pharaoh the king of Mitzrayim, and unto all his land. And what he did unto the army of Mitzrayim, unto their horses and to their chariots, how he made the water of the Red Sea to overflow them as they pursued after you, and how Yahweh has destroyed them unto this day. And what he did unto you in the wilderness until you came into this place. And what he did unto Dathan and Abraham, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben. And how the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their households and their tents and all the substance that was in their possession in the midst of all Yasharal. For your eyes have seen all the great acts of Yahweh which he did. Therefore shall you keep all the commandments which I command you this day, that you may be strong and go in and possess the land where you go to possess it, and that you may prolong your days in the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers to give unto them and to their seed, a land that flows with milk and honey.
So he says in verse 7, but your eyes have seen all these great acts of Yahweh which he did. So he purposely made us his witnesses to see the glory of the Most High, and the beauty and the righteousness and the majesty and the might of the Most High, so that we could serve as witnesses to tell the rest of the world that this is true. This is the one true living Elohim. So he purposely does things in our presence so that we can see. And this is to show us, to prove to us who he is, because we did not know him in that manner. So it's the same thing to the Father, that if we know his eyes is on us, it's our opportunity to do the same thing. Do these mighty, glorious things for the Most High, to show him, who we are, our character, and that we are from him and part of him.
Verse 10. For the land where you go to possess it is not the land as the land of Mitzrayim, for where you came out, where you sowed your seed and watered it with your foot as a garden of herbs. But the land where you go to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, and drinks water of the rain of heaven, a land which Yahweh your Elohim cares for. The eyes of Yahweh your Elohim are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even unto the end of the year.
All right, so the eyes of Yahweh are always upon his land. Jerusalem, our land, the land of Yasharal, our inheritance. So all these things that are going on in the land right now, while we are void of it, the Most High is seeing all of these things. So we don't have to be upset with the inhabitants of the land and feel that they're, infringing on us and this, that, and the other, and understand that this was the punishment that was dished out to us. So when the Most High will use a vessel to punish us because that vessel is comfortable with doing wickedness, the Most High will use that evil for what it's for, to do evil. But then at the end of the day, it will refine us. But when he's done allowing that vessel to be used for what it wants to be used for, which is wickedness, then he'll punish that vessel. The same thing he did with the snake in the garden. Let's move on. Let's go to 1 Kings. 1 Kings, that's what? Rishon Melachim?
Rishon Melachim, yeah.
Yeah, Rishon Melachim, chapter 9. 1 Kings, chapter 9. And we're just going to read verses 1 through 9. So we know his land, his eyes are forever on his land.
1 Kings, Risham Elikim, chapter 9 and verse 1. And it came to pass when Shlomo, Solomon, had finished the building of the house of Yahweh and the king's house, and all Shlomo's desire which he was pleased to do, that Yahweh appeared to Shlomo the second time, as he had appeared unto him at Gibeon. And Yahweh said unto him, I have heard your prayer and your supplication that you have made before me. I have hallowed this house, which you have built to put my name there forever. And mine eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually.
All right. So his eyes and his heart shall be there perpetually. So if you know this is where he has his eyes on, and this is where his heart is set on, this is why we always face that direction. This is why the ancients understood to pray towards the temple. Why King Solomon later, when he has the prayer of the dedication, he instructs us to always pray towards this temple, because they understand this is where the Most High's eyes are perpetually at. So we are, by us moving towards that direction, we are showing that this is what we want to do. We want your eyes to be on us. So we are respecting that this is your order. This is where you're facing, the direction you're facing. So we change our lives to move that direction. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And if you will walk before me as Dawid your father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded you, and will keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom upon Yasharal forever, as I promised to Dawid your father, saying, there shall not fail you a man upon the throne of Yasharal.
All right. Now, as long as we kept the commandments and kept the statutes and the judgments, we would never fail to have a king on the throne of Yasharal. So we obviously failed as a people, but praise Yahweh that Yahshua was able to come and be somebody who could help fulfill that promise forever by from his beginning all the way into his death, into his return, be somebody who kept the statutes, the laws, and the judgments, and be that king. So we will always have somebody that can be that person that will be our king forever. Go ahead.
Verse 6. But if you shall at all turn from following me, you or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I cut off Yasharal out of the land which I have given them, and this house which I have hallowed for my name will I cast out of my sight. And Yasharal shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. And at this house which is high, everyone that passes by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss. They shall say, why has Yahweh done this unto this land and to this house? And they shall answer, because they forsook Yahweh their Elohim, and brought forth their fathers out of the land of Mitzrayim, and have taken hold upon other mighty ones, other gods, and have worshipped them and served them. Wherefore has Yahweh brought upon them all this evil. And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, when Shlomo had built the two houses, the house of Yahweh and the king's house.
All right, we're going to stop at verse 9. But and at this house, which is high, everyone that passed by it shall be astonished and shall hiss. So say, why has Yahweh done this unto this land and to this house? And the whole world will be able to answer, because they forsook Yahweh their Elohim. So on both sides, on one side, his eyes are forever on us, so we get blessed. Anybody who curses us is cursed, so forth and so on. Our prayers are heard first. We know which direction to face. We know how to gain the favor of the Most High, and we gain all that. But at the end of the day, if we disobey against that and disregard all the instruction that he gave us, then the rest of the nation's eyes are going to be on us and our situation in our land, and that's going to be the warning for them. Like, look, this is what Yahweh will do to people that do not want to esteem him. And look what he did to his people. And this will allow us to also have the eyes on us to see, well, we not doing what we supposed to do. So that way we can now put the eyes on our own actions and say, listen, we want to take that back. We want to be the opposite. We want people looking at us and say, look, this is the blessing of the Most High when you walk in righteousness or keep commandments. Let's move on. Let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 16. And Shalom, Sister Tanya, Shalom, Brother Aquanet. Hey, Mom. Okay. We are going to 2 Chronicles chapter 16. And Shalom, Brother Thompson Aquanet. And Shalom, Sister Asia Jones. Good to see you. And Shalom, Brother Isaiah. We missed you. I'm glad that y'all made it back safe. 2 Chronicles chapter 16. And we're going to start this at verse 1.
In the 6th and 30th year of the reign of Asa, Baasha, king of Yasharal, came up against Yehuda and built Ramah, to the intent that he might let none go out or come in to Asa, king of Yehuda. Then Asa brought out silver and gold out of the treasures of the house of Yahweh and of the king's house, and sent to Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, and dwelt at Damascus, saying, There is a league between me and you, as there was between my father and your father. Behold, I have sent you silver and gold. Go, break your league with Baasha, king of Yasharal, that it may depart from me. And Ben-Hadad hearkened unto King Asa, and sent the captains of his armies against the cities of Yasharal, and they smote Iyan, and Dan, and Abel-Maim, and all the store cities of Naphtali. And it came to pass, when Baasha heard it, that he left off building of Ramah, and let his work cease. Then Asa, the king, took all Yehuda, and carried away the stones of Ramah, and the timber thereof wherewith Baasha was building, and he built therewith Geba and Mizpah. And at that time Hanani the seer came to Asa, king of Yehuda, and said unto him, Because you have relied on the king of Syria, and not relied on Yahweh your Elohim, therefore is the host of the king of Syria escaped out of your hand. Were not the Ethiopians and the Lubims a huge host, with very many chariots and horsemen? Yet because you didn't rely on Yahweh, because you did rely on Yahweh, he delivered them into your hand. For the eyes of Yahweh run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show himself strong in the behalf of them whose heart is perfect toward him. Herein you have done foolishly. Therefore, from henceforth you shall have wars.
So the eyes of Yahweh are constantly moving throughout the earth, looking for righteousness, so that he could be to show his strength and his character of how he will always protect the righteous, those that are perfecting their heart towards him. So when you are in that area, you are an individual perfecting your heart and trying to do things. That doesn't mean that just because you do something wrong, that all of a sudden you're a person that doesn't have a heart for Yahweh. No, his eyes are still going to be on you, but that means he's going to deal with you. He's going to chasten you like a father does a son, because his eyes are forever on his people, especially those that are trying to perfect their heart through Yahweh. So these are the lessons. And this is Asa. Asa, for the most part, was a righteous king. He was one of the kings, for the most part, was a righteous king. And let me make a correction. Shalom, Sister Thompson Aquanet. I do apologize. I was looking at that name and Facebook name and had it, things a little bit reversed. My apologies.
All right. Verse 10. Then Asa was wroth with the seer and put him in a prison house, for he was in a rage with him because of this thing. And Asa oppressed some of the people the same time. And behold, the acts of Asa, the first and the last, lo, they are written in the book of kings of Yehuda and Yasharal. And Asa in the 30 and 19th year of his reign was diseased in his feet, until his disease was exceeding great, Yet in his disease he sought not to Yahweh, but to the physicians. And Asa slept with his fathers and died in the 41st year of his reign. And they buried him in his own sepulchres, which he had made for himself in the city of David, and laid him in the bed, which was filled with sweet odors and diverse kinds of spices prepared by the apothecary's art. And they made a very great burning for him.
All right. So this was a king that was, a righteous king for the most part. But then, towards the end of his reign, he started he started having a wedge between him and Yah. And once you have that situation, if you don't try to correct that, you're just going to be further removed and less likely to want to approach unto Yah with things, because you already dealing with the wrath of the Most High. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to 1 Kepha chapter 3. 1 Peter chapter 3. 1 Peter chapter 3.
First Peter chapter 3 and verse 1. Likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning, let it not be with that outward adorning of plaiting the hair, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Elohim of great price.
All right, so some Hebrews will take this out of context and try to say, well, yeah, that's why you can't have, gold or put on nice apparel and do things, because, the Most High saying right here. No, first of all, this is not the Most High. This is Kepha speaking. This is inspired speech. And then second of all, it's saying don't let your adorning, which the word for adorning is what? The cosmos, I believe it was. Which is like your world. Don't let your world be the outward.
G2889.
All right, so that's your adorning. Exactly. Cosmos. G2889. Cosmos. KOSMOS.
Or like cosmetics.
Right. From orderly arrangement, that is decoration, by implication, the world. In a wide or narrow sense, including its inhabitants, literally or figuratively, morally adorning our world. So it's talking about your decoration and your outer appearance, but don't let that be your whole world, what you about. Don't let that be what you're known for. You're known for outer beauty of putting on all this nice, extra looking, great looking things, but they're not knowing you of the heart of the hidden man, the things that you do. Somebody ring the doorbell? Mm-hmm. Okay. Don't let it be that outward appearance. The Most High literally set the example of the outer appearance when he clothed the high priest. He said this is for glory and for beauty. So he wanted his servants and his nation to be beautiful. But don't let that be what you're known for, all you're known for. Go ahead.
Verse 5. For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in Elohim adorned themselves, being in subjection to their own husbands. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement.
So in these old times, the women adorned themselves, being in subjection to their own husbands. Now, that's important in our culture, but it's also important that these women have fathers too that are like, yo, nah. You're not dealing with my daughter, because my daughter is going to be a respectful, humble, and a obedient wife unto her husband. So I'm going to make sure that I allow the right man with a good background, and that's going to also show her how to be submissive to her husband by him being submissive to his head in this word, in the Mashiach. So we can't just jump to all of a sudden the woman just got to all of a sudden she got to be obedient to her husband and to everybody just because. Nah, We got to start with the selection of a husband, with the selection of a wife, making sure you're selecting the right individual so that you can have a better opportunity and warrant the favor of the Most High. Go ahead.
Verse 6, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
All right, so he's instructing us how we are to deal with our wives as husbands. Now, again, the eyes of Yahweh are forever on his people, his land. We are that land. Yeah, you have the physical land, and then you have the people that make up the land. So his eyes are forever on his people. So he's watching how we deal with his daughters, just like I do. When I'm around my daughters, I'm watching everything. How anybody deal with my daughters, my family, period. So the Most High is doing the same thing. He's watching how we dealing with one another. So when it's saying here, your prayers will be physically hindered if you are not dealing with your wife in the proper manner. And what's the proper manner here in verse 7? Deal with them. How are we supposed to deal with them?
According to honor, according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel.
Right. According to knowledge. So we need to deal with them according to knowledge, not according to how we feel or this worked for my parents or it worked for me or, well, this is what the government said. No, according to knowledge. The knowledge of what? What knowledge are we supposed to be using?
Knowledge of the word.
The knowledge of this word. The example. Yahshua gave us the point blank assignment. He said, husbands, love your wife the way the Mashiach loved the church, the way Christ loved the church. So that's the example that we're supposed to follow. We're supposed to dwell with them according to knowledge. And that don't mean, okay, you know all the knowledge, so you just dwell them according to knowledge and you beat them down. No, it don't say that as well. Then it says honor. Giving honor unto the wife. You're not giving honor unto your wife if you belittling her or beating her down and not teaching her the proper wisdom and knowledge. You just teaching her whatever you can teach her to have her do the things you want to do. Or you're teaching her the things that you want her to do carnally, but you're not teaching her how to attain unto her salvation. There's a problem there. You're not going to turn to the Most High and want to pray for all these great things in your life if you're not dealing with the responsibility he put in front of you.
Verse 8, finally, be you all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous, not rendering evil for evil, or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that you are thereunto called, that you should inherit a blessing.
All right, and that's something that's very difficult for us to do. Again, finally be of one mind. We can only be of one mind if we're all working in the same goal. We're all trying to glorify the Most High through his commandments. So we have to establish that. And then it says, having compassion one for another, love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous. Always give the other individual the benefit of the doubt. Hold them as if you said the statement that they're saying, or you did the action they were doing, and you know in your heart, if you did that action, you wouldn't be doing it to hurt the individual. So sometimes we got to look at things from that perspective so we can be of one mind. And then it says what's very important, not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing. So when somebody is caught up in their flesh, you both can't be caught up in the same thing going at it. The product is not going to be righteousness going to come out of that. Somebody has to say, you know what, I'm not going to render evil for evil. Even if what I'm interpreting you did was evil and it's not evil, but you interpret it as evil, still, you don't have to render evil for evil, because what happens if you thought somebody did something evil against you and you inquire into the matter diligently, you find out there was no evil intent or there was no evil done, but you already done repaid evil. That's unrighteous. Go ahead.
Verse 10. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensue it. For the eyes of Yahweh are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of Yahweh is against them that do evil.
All right. So the eyes of Yahweh are over his righteous, those that are trying to keep these commandments. And when they do wrong, they get up, they repent, they restore, and they try to do better. And his ears are open to their prayers because he knows their prayers are different than the individual want to do what they want to do. When they do what they want to do, their prayers is carnal, is for material things. But when somebody is praying unto the Most High from a righteous heart, his ears are open because he wants to encourage that kind of behavior. He wants to encourage that type of strategy in life to try to set your heart on righteousness and pray towards the Most High to strengthen you in that pursuit.
Verse 13. And who is he that will harm you if you be followers of that which is good? But if you suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are you, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. But sanctify Yahweh Elohim in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear, having a good conscience, that, whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Mashiach. For it is better, if the will of Elohim be so, that you suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing. For Mashiach also has once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to Elohim, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit. By which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison, which sometime were disobedient, when once the long-suffering of Elohim waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was preparing, wherein few, that is 8 souls, were saved by water. The like figure whereunto even baptism does now save us, not the putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of a good conscience toward Elohim by the resurrection of Mashiach Yeshua, who is gone into heaven and is on the right hand of Yahweh, angels and authorities and powers being made subject unto him.
All right. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 15. Mishlei chapter 15. So the eyes of Yahweh are forever moving across the earth at his people. And it's for a purpose. It's a specific goal and job that his sight is doing in his surveying the man. Surveying man and how we act and how we deal with each other on this earth. Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 15.
And verse 1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise uses knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools pours out foolishness. The eyes of Yahweh are in every place, beholding the evil and the good.
All right. So the tongue of the wise uses knowledge aright. So just because you have knowledge doesn't necessarily mean you're going to use that knowledge properly. And that's why it also says, dwell with your wise according to knowledge, giving them honor. You can dishonor them with knowledge. But it says, but the mouth of fools pour out foolishness. So you can take something as righteous as this law and use it in a very wicked manner, and now it's foolishness coming out of your mouth. But Yahweh's eyes are over every place, beholding the evil and the good. So you don't have to worry about the actions of others, because at the end of the day, every man is going to reap what they sow in their own time. And we shouldn't be hoping for judgment to happen to an individual too early, because at the end of the day, we don't want judgment right away. We want to receive that mercy and an opportunity to be, gently pushed in the right direction and tapped rather than beaten hard with a rod.
Verse 4. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. A fool despises his father's instruction, but he that regards reproof is prudent. In the house of the righteous is much treasure, but in the revenues of the wicked is trouble. The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the fool does not so. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to Yahweh, but the prayer of the upright is his delight.
All right. So the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination unto Yahweh. So when we are presenting ourselves to the Father as a living sacrifice unto the Father, this is why You can't just show up on the holy day and think that, okay, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to appear before Yah and I'm going to take the Passover and do all this and expect that the Most High just going to receive you. He's like, wait a minute, where have you been every other day? I haven't seen you every Shabbat. I'm looking for your sign in the air. When I'm looking for all my people that worship me on my day, I don't see your sign in the air. Where's your sign? So this is why the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to him, because it's vain. It's just a show. Because he didn't want sacrifice. He wanted obedience. So if you're not doing the obedience day in and day out, then he's not going to accept the sacrifice.
Verse 9. The way of the wicked is an abomination unto Yahweh, but he loves him that follows after righteousness. Correction is grievous unto him that forsakes the way, and he that hates reproof shall die. The grave and destruction are before Yahweh. How much more then the hearts of the children of men? A scorner loves not one that reproves him, neither will he go unto the wise. A merry heart makes a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken. The heart of him that has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouth of fools feeds on foolishness. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart has a continual feast. Better is little with the fear of Yahweh than great treasure and trouble therewith. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is, than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. A wrathful man stirs up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeases strife. The way of the slothful man is as a hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain.
So a slothful man, a lazy man, his way is a hedge of thorns. Everywhere he go, he getting stuck everywhere he go, because it's always the wrong time for him, because he's waiting until the last minute to try to get something done instead of doing it when it's supposed to be done. But the way of the righteous is made plain, so you don't have to worry about what is going to be your outcome when you're trying to walk in the way of righteousness, which means you're going to allow the Most High to guide your steps and direct your steps. So when you do that, he's going to make your way plain. So this is why we pray, to let him know what we want to do. This is what does it say? Proverbs 16, I think it even says, commit your thoughts unto Yahweh, commit your works unto Yahweh, and your thoughts shall be established. So when we set out in that way that, hey, listen, I'm going to walk in the way of righteousness, I know I can just go after the things that I want to go after in life. I don't have to be afraid of failing or things not blowing up in my face, because I'm approaching him with a righteous heart. Because I didn't just jump out and say, hey, I'm just going to go do this, then pray about it when it don't work out. Now I'm going to pray for y'all. I'm going to say, Yah, this is what I want to do. If it be your will, you will strengthen me, encourage me, but I want to show me what you want me to do. But I'm showing you this is what I want. Like any father, any parent, child will say to their father. And when you do that, he's going to make your way plain. And that removes a lot of the doubt and the stress and the insecurity and trying to do something new. When you can say, listen, I'm going to put all this faith and glory in the Most High. And when I achieve this goal, now I can turn and give him all the glory.
Verse 20. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. Folly is joy to him that is destitute of wisdom, but a man of understanding walks uprightly. Without counsel, purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors they are established. A man has joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season, how good is it? The way of life is above to the wise, that he may depart from the grave beneath. Yahweh will destroy the house of the proud, but he will establish the border of the widow. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to Yahweh, but the words of the pure are pleasant words. He that is greedy of gain troubles his own house, but he that hates gifts shall live. The heart of the righteous studies to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. Yahweh is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayer of the righteous. The light of the eyes rejoices the heart, and a good report makes the bones fat. The ear that hears the reproof of life abides among the wise. He that refuses instruction despises his own soul, but he that hears reproof gets understanding. The fear of Yahweh is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility.
All right, and then before honor is humility. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 32. So, we all have done, things in the past that we're not proud of, and we've made mistakes since coming into this word and being immersed, and have hit our knees and prayed for forgiveness and everything. But at the end of the day, the Most High is going to judge you based on how you end up. And what fruit have you produced? Because this is how we glorify the Father. Yahshua gave us that insight. He said, listen, hereinafter, this is how you know you glorify the Father, is that you bear much fruit. So the eyes of Yahweh are examining our fruit, examining the fruits of our spirit, what we are doing. What are we producing for him? If we're supposed to be servants, we're supposed to be husbandmen, we're supposed to be shepherd. Where's your product? What have you produced? Show me your results. So the eyes are not only just looking for righteousness or right or wrong, but it's also looking, well, how profitable are you being for the Most High?
Jeremiah chapter 32 and verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh in the 10th year of Zedekiah king of Yehuda, which was the 18th year of Nebuchadrezzar. For then the king of Babylon's army besieged Jerusalem, and Jeremiah the prophet was shut up in the court of the prison, which was in the king of Yehuda's house. For Zedekiah king of Yehuda had shut him up, saying, Wherefore do you prophesy and say, Thus says Yahweh, Behold, I will give this city into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall take it. And Zedekiah king of Yehuda shall not escape out of the hand of the Chaldeans, but surely shall be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon, and shall speak with him mouth to mouth, and his eyes shall behold his eyes.
Now, just look at the job of this prophet. You can see why he's a crying prophet. He got to go approach the king and tell the king, hey, listen, we all going into captivity, and you going too. Nothing you can do about it. Because I've been told y'all to repent, and y'all don't want to listen, but you want to act like you holy. So the king is throwing him in jail. So he's like, man, what's the point of me going to go tell somebody something to repent if they not going to listen? And why are you having me, if you just going to do it, why don't you just put them in jail? Why I got to go get put in jail because they don't want to listen? Well, this is the job of a servant. Sometimes the Most High has to get his glory by saying, look, I told you all this was going to happen. So that the future generations can know that, hey, listen, let me listen to the Most High. What he says is true.
Verse 5, And he shall lead Zedekiah to Babylon, and there shall he be until I visit him, says Yahweh. Though you fight with the Chaldeans, you shall not prosper. And Jeremiah said, The word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Behold, Hanameel, the son of Shallum, your uncle, shall come unto you, saying, Buy you my field that is in Ananoth, for the right of redemption is yours to buy it. So Hanameel, my uncle's son, came to me in the court of the prison according to the word of Yahweh, and said unto me, Buy my field, I pray you, that is in Ananoth, which is in the country of Benjamin, for the right of inheritance is yours, and the redemption is yours. Buy it for yourself. Then I knew that this was the word of Yahweh. And I bought the field of Hanameel, my uncle's son, that was in Ananoth, and weighed him the money, even 17 shekels of silver. And I subscribed the evidence and sealed it, and took witnesses, and weighed him the money in the balances. So I took the evidence of the purchase, both that which was sealed according to the law and custom, and that which was open. And I gave the evidence of the purchase unto Baruch the son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, in the sight of Hanameel, my uncle's son, and in the presence of the witnesses that subscribed the book of the purchase before all the Yehudim that sat in the court of the prison. And I charged Baruch before them, saying, Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Yasharal, take these evidences, this evidence of the purchase, both which is sealed and the evidence which is open, and put them in an earthen vessel, that they may continue many days. For thus says Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Yasharal, houses and fields and vineyards shall be possessed again in this land. Now when I had delivered the evidence of the purchase unto Baruch the son of Neriah, I prayed unto Yahweh, saying, Ah, my sovereign Yahweh, behold, you have made the heaven and the earth by your great power and stretched out arm, and there is nothing too hard for you. You show loving kindness unto thousands, and recompense the iniquity of the fathers into the bosom of their children after them. The great and mighty all, Yahweh of hosts is his name, great in counsel and mighty in work. For your eyes are open upon all the ways of the sons of men, to give everyone according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings.
All right. So the Most High is fair. He is the employer, and he's going to pay us our payment for what we are due. If we sin, the payment is death. If we do righteousness, the payment is reward. So his eyes are constantly looking to pay us back, to reward us. So it's the same thing when we do a good deed. When we do a good deed, we don't need to go publish it all over the world to let everybody know we did something good. Because the Most High's eyes are out looking to reward us according to the fruit of our doings. And when he's rewarding us according to the fruit of our doings, it's not always something negative. It can be something very positive if we're doing righteous things and bearing good fruit for him.
Verse 20, which has set signs and wonders in the land of Mitzrayim, even unto this day, and in Yasharal, and among other men, and have made you a name as at this day, and have brought forth your people Yasharal out of the land of Mitzrayim with signs and with wonders, and with a strong hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with great terror, and have given them in this land, which you did swear to their fathers to give them, a land flowing with milk and honey. And they came in and possessed it, but they obeyed not the voice, neither walked in your law. They have done nothing of all that you commanded them to do. Therefore, you have caused all this evil to come upon them.
All right, let's stop right there. We stopped at verse 23. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 3. Zechariah or Zechariah chapter 3. Zechariah is the second to last book of the Old Testament, right before Malachi.
Zechariah chapter 3 and verse 1. And he showed me Yeshua the high priest standing before the angel of Yahweh, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, O Satan, even Yahweh that has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Now Yeshua was clothed with filthy garments, and stood before the angel. And he answered and spoke unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused your iniquity to pass from you, and I will clothe you with change of raiment. And I said, Let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head, and clothed him with garments. And the angel of Yahweh stood by. And the angel of Yahweh protested unto Yeshua, saying, Thus says Yahweh of hosts, if you will walk in my ways, and if you will keep my charge, then you shall also judge my house, and shall also keep my courts, and I will give you places to walk among these that stand by. Hear now, O Yeshua the high priest, you and your fellows that sit before you, for they are men wondered at. For, behold, I will bring forth my servant, the branch. For, behold, the stone that I have laid before Yeshua, upon one stone shall be 7 eyes. Behold, I will engrave the graving thereof, says Yahweh of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. In that day, says Yahweh of hosts, shall you call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree.
So interesting is talking about these 7 eyes upon this stone that he laid before Yeshua. And then it also talks about he's going to bring forth his servant, the branch. And that's interesting if you now couple that with Isaiah chapter 13 when it talks about those 7 spirits of Yah. Let's move on. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 4.
And the angel that talked with me came again and waked me as a man is waked out of his sleep, and said unto me, What see you? And I said, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick of all of gold, with a bowl upon the top of it, and his 7 lamps thereon, and 7 pipes to the 7 lamps which are upon the top thereof, and 2 olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl, and another upon the left side thereof. So I answered and spoke to the angel that talked with me, saying, What are these, my sovereign? And the angel that talked with me answered and said unto me, Know you not what these be? And I said, No, my sovereign. And he answered and spoke unto me, saying, This is the word of Yahweh unto Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, says Yahweh of hosts. Who are you, O great mountain, before Zerubbabel? You shall become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, Grace, grace.
Ayin is H5869, like the letter Ayin, like the Hebrew letter Ayin. And that's spelled Ayin. And that's properly a primitive word, an eye. Literally or figuratively, by analogy, a fountain as the eye of the landscape. Affliction, outward appearance, before, think, color, conceit, be content, countenance, displease, eye, face, favor, furrow, humble, knowledge, look, openly, please, presence, regard, resemblance, sight, so forth and so on. So there's a lot of different usages for that because it's also based off a letter, which also has a meaning.
Verse 11, Zechariah chapter 4 and verse 11. Then answered I and said unto him, What are these two olive trees upon the right side of the candlestick and upon the left side thereof? And I answered again and said unto him, What be these two olive branches, which through the two golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves? And he answered me and said, Know you not what these be? And I said, No, my sovereign. Then said he, These are the two anointed ones that stand by the sovereign of the whole earth.
All right, the two anointed ones. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 4. So we know that these 7 eyes go to and fro throughout the whole world to examine the deeds of men and examine the fruit that we bear. So when these eyes are moving, the eyes of Yahweh are moving all through us, we have to understand that just because, we can take that layer and say, all right, I'm in a store and I want to steal all this stuff in the store, but I see this big security camera looking at me. In man's world, we're fine because we didn't do nothing. We didn't steal nothing. The camera's looking at us. We didn't do nothing. But the intent in our heart was, man, if this cameras went in here, I'd rob this place clean. So we thinking, we walking around justified. I ain't robbed nobody today. I'm good. But at the end of the day, we already did it in our heart. It's just like when you see that married woman and you lust after a married woman in your heart and say, well, I didn't touch her. I didn't commit adultery. But you lusting after her. Yahshua said you have committed adultery in your heart already. So we have to understand it's deeper than just the physical action that we did or did not do. He's also looking at your heart. He's also looking at what's going on in your spirit, because everything we do or think or how we want to propose ourselves to be is naked before the eyes of the Most High. He has a different type of sight that can see all of these things. Hebrews chapter 4, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the good news preached, as well as unto them, but the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. For we, which have believed, do enter into rest, as he said, As I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
All right, so part of entering into his rest is, we know the end game of that rest is the sabbatical kingdom and going into the new kingdom where we have eternal rest and peace because, we're away from the adversary of the devil. But as coming into this word of entering into his rest is also keeping this Shabbat, coming into his peace, keeping his commandments, showing that's one of the first beginning points of showing the Most High that we are coming into his rest. His burden is light. So we want to show him this sign by keeping the Sabbath days, keeping his holy days, keeping his appointed times as Moadim. That's showing him that we want to enter in his rest so that we're showing prime example to him that, look, this is a shadow of things to come. So if this is just a shadow, I want to show you, I want the shadow and I want the thing that's shadowing this, because I'm showing you that I'm going to respect this rest and I'm not going to disturb the peace.
Verse 3. Verse 4. For he spoke in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and Elohim did rest the seventh day from all his works. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. Seeing therefore it remains that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief. Again, he limited a certain day, saying in Dawid, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today if you will hear his voice, harden not your heart. For if Yahshua had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day?
All right, so now it's talking about here for if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not after spoken of another day? And who it's referring to here, it's referring to Yahshua. If Yahshua had not given them rest. So this is what it's talking about here. If you go to Joshua chapter 22, it's talking about that here. So this is another clue here showing you that they removed Yahshua's name out of the book. Because when they saw Yahshua, the son of Nun, they knew that was the same name as Yahshua HaMashiach. And they went wholesale replacing that name. That's why you do not have the name Joshua in the entire. You go back a few books. In the Old Testament, Zechariah, we just read it. They talking about Yahshua, the priest Yahshua. But when you get into the New Testament, because they changed the name, they had to change everything so that we wouldn't know the true name of the Mashiach, where it says none other name can men be saved. But in that same wicked craftiness that they did, it also turned out as a teaching tool for us to also be able to use and prove that they changed the names in this book.
Verse 8. Verse 9. There remains therefore a rest to the people of Elohim, for he that is entered into his rest, he also has ceased from his own works, as Elohim did from his. Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. For the word of Elohim is quick and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of the soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart.
So the word, Yahshua, is a discerner of the thoughts and the intents of the heart. That's why he's fit to judge. We not fit to judge because we can't discern the thoughts and intents of the heart. We can only go by what you're telling us and what we believe. And all that's based upon our experience. But Yahshua himself knows the thoughts of man because the eyes of Yah are forever on us. So it's constantly watching everything we do, everything we physically do, even to the point where it can see inside our heart and see the uncleanness that we carry within us so that it can judge the intent of what we do.
Verse 13, neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked and open unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do.
So all things are naked and opened unto the eyes of the Messiah and Yahweh. They see everything. So it doesn't make any, or it's not productive for us to lie to ourselves about a certain matter when we do something or the intent of what we do, because at the end of the day, we might fool man. But when we go back and we meditate to ourselves, we can't lie to ourselves because the Father knows all those things. And he will manifest those things in our lives to get us to acknowledge our own downfall, our own shortcomings, so that we can be honest enough with ourselves to try to do something about it, invite him in to change us. Because he can't change us without us inviting him into our life, without us saying, yes, come in. I freely give you the authority to come in and change my spirit through my deeds and my actions and my thoughts and the chastening. Guide me so that I can be a renewed person.
Verse 14, seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Yahshua the son of Elohim, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need.
So we can be bold in approaching unto the throne, when we know that we are due mercy because we have been honest with ourselves. We have already told the Most High and prayed to Him. These are the things that I'm working on. These are things I'm struggling with. I'm giving forth my best effort. I'm using these commandments. I'm avoiding. I'm enduring. And it's already out before the Father. The Father already known that. So that's the good news that is being taught through the Lamadim and the Mashiach, the disciples, that we can get that grace and that mercy if we be honest with ourselves. But we limit the Most High from washing us clean when we are lying to ourselves about our own deeds, or we are not being upfront with the things that we need to change in our life. And He just holds us back, and He has to continue chastening us until we can acknowledge these things to ourselves. So let's go to the conclusion. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6. And let's start this at verse 1. Matthew chapter 6. So again, the whole class was about Yahweh's eyes being on His people, His land, and not only just His people, but those that do righteousness, as well as those that do wickedness, to repay them the fruit of their doings as well. So His eyes are forever on us. So if we know that His eyes are on us, then we want His reward. We shouldn't be doing things for man's reward. But if we do these things so that we can get man's eyes to see us, then there's our reward.
Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 1. Take heed that you do not your alms before men to be seen of them. Otherwise you have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when you do your alms, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But when you do alms, let not your